Hi Stampers, this is Kim with Great Inspirations. Thank you for joining me for another Stamp Happy Holidays video. Today I am going to talk about making simple cards that look like they take a lot of time, but they really don't. And that's what I have right here in the camera are 4 cards that I made, and none of them took me more than about 20 minutes to make. And actually, as I kept making them, it took me less time to make each one because I had a better idea of what I was doing. The stamp set that I am using for these cards is called Sparkling Snowflakes, and it can be found in the current Stampin' Up! Mini catalog. Now, you can use any snowflake stamps you may have. You could even use ornament stamps, whatever. But for me, the whole idea of these cards is I wanted to stamp a background, and I wanted it to be something that was pretty, but I also wanted to be able to get it done quickly. So I came up with sort of a pattern of how to stamp the images. Now I used 3 images from the stamp set. I used this one, the largest snowflake. I used this one, the middle-sized snowflake, and I used the small snowflake. And that kind of helped me be able to figure out how to do the pattern. It took a little bit of trial and error, but once I figured out what worked for me, and you know, as usual, it may not work for you, we're all different, but knowing my process may help you to come up with your own process. Now, these 3 cards are pretty much identical as far as layout the layout of the background goes. This one is a little different. Now, something else you might notice about these cards is I've used some specialty papers. And I thought, well, if I want to make a simple card, a quick and easy card, a really good way to jazz it up that takes no added time is just to use some specialty paper. So that's what I have done. Now this is the tartan specialty paper that is available right now as an online exclusive on the Stampin' Up! Website. And this uses that granny apple green foil, which is packaged with some Millimombo foil, and that is available in the mini catalog is where you would see that. Now for this one, the specialty paper here, it's vellum, and I just adhered vellum to some white cardstock, but it gives it just a really nice feel, a different look than just stamping it directly on the cardstock. And I just ended up really liking how this looked. Now the specialty paper for this is a glimmer paper, and it is Highland Heather, and it is not available quite yet. It will be available as an online exclusive on November 7th. It comes in a package with 2 other colors of glimmer paper, Pretty Peacock and Petal Pink. But I just thought with these nice cool colors of snowflakes that this Highland Heather really made the card look festive. So let me sort of get these out of the way for just a moment, and I will tell you my secret, which is not a big secret, many people do this, for adhering vellum without being able to see the adhesive. There are a couple ways you can do that. There are adhesives on the market that are specifically for vellum. I don't have any of those at the moment, but I have used them in the past and they work fairly well. The easiest thing for me though was to just take my silicone mat, my green glue, the multi-purpose glue, and a piece of sponge. Now you want to be sure that the sponge doesn't have lint or anything like that on it. And then all you do is you just squeeze some Tombow on the mat. You mix it around with your sponge. And then we're going to pretend this piece of cardstock is vellum. You just start to apply it to your vellum. Then you can adhere your vellum to whatever you want, be it a piece of cardstock, another piece of vellum, whatever. For me, I used a piece of white cardstock on this. And the way I did this was I used ink, which in this case is Blueberry Bushel, and I stamped a few of the snowflakes with the Blueberry Bushel at full strength. Then I took my stamp and inked it with Blueberry Bushel, and then I stamped off twice and then stamped it onto my vellum. The last thing I did was I took Pool Party, and you can just barely make out the pool party. I inked my stamp, I stamped off twice, and then I stamped the image. Now another thing I tried to do while making these cards was to use up some of my embellishments, because I have a lot of specialty papers and a lot of embellishments. So here I've used some of the iridescent pearls that are found in the annual catalog. So that is how I stamped on my vellum, which after I stamped, I did take my heat tool and went over it just very, didn't take very long, just a few seconds, just to make sure that ink was dry. And then when I was done with the heat tool, I took a piece of scrap paper and I just flipped my vellum upside down and I just lightly rubbed on the back of it to make sure that any ink that had not dried had come off. And you know what? There wasn't any. So that was good. I'd gotten everything dry. So there is the card with the vellum and how I got that vellum on there. Now, the next card is right here. And I really liked these colors together. It's Fresh Freesia and Soft Sea Foam and Balmy Blue. So I will show you now how I decided what worked best for me when I stamped these snowflakes on the cardstock. Now for this one, I started off with a piece of cardstock larger than what I was going to end up with. On the other two samples I'll show you, I did not do that. I started out with the size piece of cardstock, the size I wanted it. But either way, the way I stamped the images will still work. So here's a piece of cardstock, and we'll get out some Fresh Freesia, and let's see here, Soft Sea Foam. I'm going to move these for just a moment. And then we just need the Balmy Blue. And you have to decide, because I do have 3 stamps here. Like I said, the large snowflake, the medium-sized one, and the smaller one. So you kind of have to decide, okay, which one do I want to be the larger one? Which one do I want to be the smaller one, etc. So because I used this Highland Heather glimmer paper, I decided to make the Highland Heather the larger one. So all I did after I inked up my stamp and then which you can hardly tell there's any on there. I inked the stamp up, and I stamped the corner. I kind of stamped in the middle. I went back down to the corner, and then I went up to this corner, but I didn't go down as far as I did on this one. And then I went down to the last corner. So basically, the corners and the middle. And so we're done with that one. And now let's put in the, I think we'll go ahead and put in the smaller one. No, that's not what I did. I put in the medium one. Get this centered just a little more on my block. And then I just kind of decided to do 4. I went from 5 to 4. And it is okay if they overlap. It will be just fine. It's kind of the look you want. Then I took the soft sea foam and kind of went in the places that needed a little extra. And I went down the edges as well, especially on the ones that I had already cut to size. And then if I felt like, okay, I'm getting a little too much soft sea foam, I would just go back and take whatever color I thought I needed a little more of and just say, okay, I'm going to put a little bit of this right in here. And then I'm going to put maybe a little bit more right over here. And then at some point you just have to say, okay, I'm done. And sometimes I stopped before it got too awfully busy, and sometimes I didn't. But by the time you get all of your embellishments and your greeting on here, it's probably going to be just fine. I've had a couple that I was like, no, I'm just going to have to redo that. But for the most part, it all turned out really well. So that's just how I did the 5, then the 4, and then put the smaller snowflake in, and then just add in where need be. Now, I did these. That is, I won't say that's a traditional color, but that's not something that would be unheard of on a Christmas card. And of course, the blue is pretty traditional for snowflakes. And then we have this one, the red and green. And then I have a few little embellishments here. And traditional color, but just to add a twist, I added something that was not all that traditional, and that is the Tahitian tide. But then it really makes a really fantastic looking card. Now this last one, I really like woodsy looking things. That's just how I am. I like to be in the woods. I like the fall. These are just my colors. So from time to time, for Christmas cards, I use more shades of brown, tan, that kind of thing. And that's what I've used on this card. I just had a few little embellishments, some copper ribbon, and then added the tags just for a little something different for the sentiment. Now, everything I use to make these cards, be it the designer series paper, be it the specialty paper, be it the embellishments, the dies, whatever, all of that you will find on my corresponding blog post. I will list everything there. You will also find pictures of these cards. And honestly, it took me not long to make these. You saw how long it took to just stamp the background. Then all you have to do is, get you a specialty paper and your card base figure out your greeting, and you're done. And you can make the same card. Maybe you want to make, 10 of these. That's great. Maybe you're like me and just, I can't stand to make the same card over too many times. So that's why I tend to take the idea and use different colors, different papers, different ribbons. And, that's okay too. We all have our own styles, or the things we like to do. But one reason I like to do this is even if my cards are very, very similar, I can send the people that I know and love a card that will pretty much fit their personality. And I really like to do that. So this is just an idea I had for just using a stamp set, the Sparkling Snowflakes, and making several cards with that stamp set using the basically the same ideas. Now, thank you so much for joining me. And I do want to apologize that this video will be posting a bit later than usual, but I have not been well. I managed to get a virus, and I'm pretty sure it was a norovirus, so stomach virus. Not fun, but I'm doing just fine now. But I did want to be able to get this video to you and let you know about all these wonderful specialty paper Stampin' Up! Offers, but also just how you can take whatever specialty papers you have at home and use them on your Christmas cards. Thank you for joining me today, and until next time, stamp happy!